Alright, text just wasn't enough. I have to use my voice for this shit. And a text-to-speech reader, but that's not the point. So, I'll start off by having said text-to-speech reader actually read this post.
Hot take. If someone understands that pan and bi are the same and the pan label came from a misunderstanding of the bi label, and they still choose to ID as pan because they're more comfortable with it, that's biphobic. If you're more comfortable with the pan label, that means you're uncomfortable with the bi label, which makes you biphobic, surprisingly enough. I hate when people are like bi and pan are the same but I still ID as pan because I'm more comfortable with it. No, pan is redundant and harmful.
Alright, that was the post. Now let me explain why I disagree with it. They start out by saying, if someone understands that pan and bi are the same, and there's my first problem. I gave a bit of a shitty explanation for this earlier, but now that I've thought about it a bit more, and I'm not restrained to Twitter's character limit, I'll explain a bit better. People tend to argue over the exact definitions of bi and pan, but the most common ones from what I've seen are that bi people are attracted to men and women, while pan people are attracted to men, women, intersex people, and non-binary people. Contrary to seemingly popular belief, this does not mean that bi people are transphobic for the same reason that it's not sexist to be straight, gay, or ace, nor does it mean that pan people are biphobic. It literally just means that different people have different preferences, and there's nothing wrong with that. Moving on, they then say that the pan label came from a misunderstanding of the bi label, and they still choose to ID as pan because they're more comfortable with it, and that's biphobic. I have two arguments against this part, but I'll get to the second one later. For now, I'll just state that this argument could also work the other way around. If pansexuality and bisexuality really were the exact same thing and one of them had to go for whatever reason, considering the fact that some people are concerned about the implications of bi meaning two, combined with the fact that a lot of bi people agree that the term is outdated and may have mildly NB-phobic connotations, wouldn't it make more sense to just use the newer one instead? And for the record, I'm not actually saying that bisexuality should be obsoleted. I'm just using hypothetical scenarios to point out the flaws in these arguments, while simultaneously trying to say that people of different sexualities should be able to coexist. Anyway, they then say that if you're more comfortable with the pan label, that means you're uncomfortable with the bi label, which makes you biphobic, which is false. That's like saying if you're more comfortable identifying as agender than non-binary, that means you're NB-phobic, and vice versa. You can be more comfortable with one label without actively being uncomfortable with the other, and even if you are uncomfortable being referred to as one label, that doesn't mean you dislike people who do use it. Finally, they end with pan is redundant and harmful, and sure, you can argue that the label pan is a little redundant, but it's not the end of the fucking world, and again, it does have its own meaning. And despite several people's attempts, I still haven't heard a solid explanation on how exactly it's harmful to use that label. People claim that it's biphobic and transphobic, but those people can never seem to explain why or how. If someone can actually explain why and how it's biphobic and transphobic to identify as pan, then I'm open to listening to a good explanation. I just haven't heard or read one yet. Until then, I think I'm gonna keep calling myself pan, because I'm more comfortable with it, and that doesn't mean I'm uncomfortable with bi people, it just means that I'm more comfortable referring to myself personally as pan. You don't gotta fucking kill me for it.